Hey everyone, today we're going to get started on the first seedlings of the year. First stuff. I think I mentioned in my previous video, if you watch, that I am behind on my geraniums. So they're the first things we're going to start. It's mid-February. I typically would start my geraniums about the second week of January, but we had some things going on and we weren't going to be around to tend to them, so I put that off. So anyway, first things first. I use solid trays. I'm in the house in the basement, so everything we do in here is on solid trays. And these are amazing trays. We ordered these, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, and they're from Greenhouse Mega Stores where we got them. They're a heavy duty tray, and I cannot remember what exactly we paid for them or how many came in a box, but I think we got somewhere between 25 and 50 of them probably. And these are the best trays by far that we've ever had. They are just super durable, and they sometimes the thinner ones, this one's actually a thinner one, and they'll, I don't know if you can see that, but it'll flex a lot and eventually they'll crack. And these they just don't do that. And so they just way tougher, way thicker. So we like those. But if you don't need that many, because when you order, if I remember right, you have to order a certain amount, I think anyway. But I will tell you that the other place that we have gotten trays and domes from in the past that I have found to be the most economical is Menards. Menards is able to order in such huge quantities that even back when years ago, we had our greenhouse open as a business for one season. And, I was ordering from a wholesaler, and Menards prices on their individual things was like less than I could get stuff through my wholesaler. So if you want something that it's not going to be as good a quality, I mean, these are definitely worth the money if you're willing to spend that. Excuse me. But if you're just looking for something that's economical and you're doing 1 or 2 trays, kind of a thing, check out Menards. I'm not saying no other stores have anything that's comparable or good, but it's just been my experience that we've been able to find things there. In fact, you'll see today that my dome's really old and they're getting yellowed. And when I go look for more, I'll probably pop into Menards to see if they've got some to replace them with, because they're getting pretty brittle and stuff. So, okay, so my mix here, by the way, this is how I do it inside. I don't have a ton of space. When I'm able to work outside, I can be a little bit messier, although I do have to clean up the floor after this too. But I usually just use another tray to put my mix in. I bring my potting mix in a tote, which is actually under my table here, and then I just keep a cover over it so it's all enclosed there. And then I just fill this and refill as I need. That's just what works best for me with the limited space that I have. Potting mix that I use. Sometimes I have used seed starting mix, germinating mix is the word I'm looking for. It is very fine. It stays very moist. So if you've got stuff that's really kind of picky about germinating, it's the best to use for that. But I have found that most of the things that we do grow will do just fine with a regular potting mix, as long as I keep those domes on and I keep them misted and keep them moist. So the next thing I will tell you is that I don't have, this is not organic potting mix. I will use organic when I do my vegetables, but for the other things I will just use usually the brand can vary. There's certain brands I will not use. I love Pro Mix, but sometimes you can't find it. So that just kind of depends on what I'm able to find in our area sometimes. This is actually a mix of some old stuff that's really dry and some other stuff that's not so dry. So I'm actually going to throw some water on this and mix it up a little bit, because it's really, the bottom stuff is really dry right now. So. And you'll see actually as I mix it, I mean, you can see just the color difference, and it's a different mix as well, but it is just much, much drier, and I need to get that mixed in so that when we're planting things into good moist soil. Okay. All right, so if you, I don't know if you can see this, how well you can see it, but it'll clump together, but it's not muddy and like in a big ball. So that's pretty good right there. And the one thing I will say too is I am starting seeds today in like a 72 cell tray. Those little compartments are a lot smaller than if you're starting in a, 2.5 or 3x3 type squares, or even in 4-packs. And so one of the things about this mix is it's chunkier. If you use a seed starting germinating mix, it's gonna be super fine. It's not gonna have any of the big chunks in. It would fit better into these little cells. So that is the one negative when you're starting things in really little cells about using this mix. So this is our 72 cell tray. This will sit right inside my solid tray here. The biggest thing is that it will catch all the water, anything that drains out of here, so you won't be making a mess when you water. And I have occasionally tried watering from the bottom on these, but these do not sit all the way down in that tray, so it really doesn't work well. You might get a couple cells where it's picking up the moisture and wicking it up, but a lot of them don't. So in this case, it's going to always be best. Plus, when things are germinating, it's usually best to be misting from the top anyway to keep them moist. So watering for us, it'd probably be misting from the top. If you water with something, I don't know, even like a watering can, you can disrupt those seeds. So typically at the early stage, I will be using the mister. So we'll go ahead and just fill these cells. Okay, so most of this looks pretty good. Let's see, I've got it all filled there. Taking most of the excess off the top here. You want them pretty flat. You do need to make sure you pack them in a little bit, otherwise they will just wash out as soon as you get them wet. They'll sink in super far. So you need to make sure they're kind of packed so that your seeds will stay at the top and not get buried underneath all that as the soil settles. Okay. I don't have a sink down here. Well, I do have a sink down here, but I'd have to run off to the side. So I just keep a rag here and wipe my hands off when I'm done. So I'm going to start with our Mavericks today. I'm going to start with the salmon Maverick. And I do not remember how many I have in each one of these seed packs. So I don't know how many I'm doing. Depending on how many are in here, might depend on how many I'm planting. So with the geraniums, okay, so I'm just going to tell you this. Most of your geraniums will come with pretty nice instructions. So for instance, this says to press into soil and barely cover. Keep at 70 to 75 degrees. Germination is within 7 to 14 days. Bottom heat is beneficial. Keep soil high until seeds germinate. Then reduce the moderate level after germination. So a lot of my seeds, I mean, not every packet from the store is as good, but a lot of the seeds, like this one is from Swallowtail, they've got really good instructions. So if you forget anything when you're watching me, look at your packets of seeds. They'll probably have the information you need. Another thing is anytime you forget something, go Google it. That's what I tell my kids. I have some kids that are, my kids are grown and they're starting to do some gardening themselves, and sometimes I can answer things for them, but I still tell them to go look it up just so they get used to finding their own information. I'm not saying you can't ask somebody who's knowledgeable, but it's also good to be your own advocate and be able to find information and resources about whatever it is you're interested in. So, but seed packets, a lot of them are really good. So these geraniums seeds here, you're going to put on top of the soil here. Okay, they're really small. I don't know if I can get these out and show you or not. See how well they show up in a camera. So these, oh yeah, I remember these now. These are small packets of seeds. I'm going to come over here and see if I can show that to you in my dirty little hands, but they're very small. They're very small. So Basically what you're going to do, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put one in each. These are brand new seeds. Sometimes I will double seed things, especially if my seeds are old. But typically if they're brand new seeds and there's something that usually germinates well, and by the way, geraniums usually germinate very well for me. So if that's the case, I'm usually just going to do one per cell. And it said in our instructions to cover lightly with soil. So what I will do is I will just grab a handful of this and I will come and I will sprinkle it over them. Okay, I have to mark my spot first because I'm gonna have a mixed tray. And if I do not mark my spot, I will forget where I left off here. For my tags, I often just use old tags of any kind of plant that I have, any plant tag. Or the other thing that we have used so much is you can go to the thrift store and you can find old vinyl blinds, like window blinds, and you can buy them for like $3. And out of every one of those strips, you can cut that into like 3 or 4 tags and then just write on them. So keeping old tags, even if they've got writing on them, I can write over that, or using the blinds. Those are the things that I've used. It's nice and cheap, and you know, nice inexpensive way to keep your things in order and marked. So anyway, I'm going to mark these. These are going to be salmon, Maverick salmon, geranium, and that one ends right there. So before I go any further with putting the soil on, because once you cover those with soil, you will not remember your marking spot. And then the other thing that I will probably do now that I've gotten that done is I'll probably go ahead and fill the rest of these, mark them, and I'll just come and sprinkle the soil over the top of them when I'm all done. Just a really light covering on these. Okay, this is going to be the Maverick Rose. That'll be next. And I think most of these have about that same amount, 9 to 10, 11 seeds in there. So this one had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think I dropped one when I tried to show them to you on the camera. So I think there was 10 in there. Okay, so I am down to 2, 4, 6, 8 cells, and I'm guessing I probably have 10 seeds in this one too. And that actually is my last small packet. I have my large packet of geraniums that are the Pinto Premium White Rose. There are 100 seeds in there, and I will probably not plant all 100, but I will probably do like 50 of them. So I think I'll just set these I'm on the multi-bloom Capri geranium, and I think I'll put those in there and we'll call this tray good. I have a couple of those left. I will go ahead and save them. Well, they don't want to go back in my packet for me. Get in there. Okay, so we got all of the smaller packets of geraniums planted into this one tray here. So, and that was a 72 cell tray. We are going to go ahead, I'm just going to gently push each seed down. I can see them. So, and then when I'm done, I'm going to just basically kind of sprinkle a fine coat of soil across the top of them. You don't want to put these deep. They're not supposed to be deep at all. But you just kind of want to get good soil contact with them so they get good moisture. Okay, just a nice little pack on here. Make sure everything's tidy in there. Got good contact with the soil. The soil holds the moisture, and so if you do not have good contact with the soil and they dry out at all, those seeds are going to have a hard time germinating. It's the same way with our pumpkin seeds. When our soil is really clumpy and we don't get rain, those seeds in those areas don't germinate well because they just need that contact with the soil to get that moisture in and make them germinate. Okay, so, oops, I forgot tags on the last one. Let's do that quick. What was the name of that one? Multi-bloom Capri. We'll just call it Capri. Okay, and by the way, I save all of these packets as well. So if I've got the name on there even, you know, halfway where I can read it, I can go back to this. And even on the ones that don't have photos or pictures on them, I can at least have the name, and I can always look it up. If I'm like trying to plan where things are going and I don't remember what it looks like, I can go look that up. So don't throw your packets away until the end of the season at least. And plus, I keep my packets too all the way through the next season, next spring when I order, or winter I guess, because if I forget what I had, I just go through my packets and I know which things I had and which things I like and which things I want to reorder. So, okay, so I'm going to go ahead. I have multiple trays. Actually, I just have one more trays of geraniums. Then we'll be doing petunias and stuff. But I'm going to go ahead and water these oh my goodness. I'm going to go ahead and water the geraniums in, and then I'm going to get that second tray of those done. And that might be it for today. Chad and I have to do some tax work, so that might be all I get to today. I know what it was. I forgot to show you. So this is what I need to, I wish I had a little more space. This is my sprayer. This is, I don't know what the brand is. I've gotten it at Menards. It's Chapin. And if you've been following us, I have posted about this probably the last 2 or 3 years. It's a pretty simple sprayer. It's only, I don't know what it costs right now or if they still have the same brand this year, but this costs me, I think, $9.99. It is very affordable, so you do not have to be a big, huge gardener to justify getting one. When I very first started, I used a spray bottle, and oh my goodness, the cramping in my hands is just not worth it. This is a game changer. So, oh, I just hit the button. So anyway, this is what I use to mist everything, and this is how I will do most of the watering until they get some decent size to them too. This is their primary, source of water, is me spraying them in.
$5 at Menards.
Chad just looked it up actually while I'm doing this, and he said that Menards has them for $5 right now. So very affordable. I mean, my goodness, that's barely more than a hand pump or a handheld spray bottle. So you might as well go for it. Okay. Now I did mention earlier that my trays are old and quite yellow, but I have used these the last couple of years, even though they're yellow. This one does need to be dusted though. That might help. Where'd that rag go? But the yellowing has not bothered my plants at all. But I did tell Chad that these are getting kind of brittle too and stuff. They've been around a long time, so I might grab a couple of new ones that are clear. But you want to keep the dome on. That keeps that moisture in, which I just went over how important that moisture is for germination. And over here on my grow stand, I actually have a heat mat as well. What I try to do is I can fit 4 trays on there, and some days I will plant more than 6, 8 trays at a time. but most of the time I try to keep it to 4 at a time, let those germinate, pop them up a shelf. Actually, I have 2, that's right. I forgot that I have 2 now. We used to only have 1 grow mat, but a couple of years ago we got a second one. So I can start 8 on a heat mat at the same time. And then once they are getting going, then we'll put those usually down on the bottom shelf, and we'll put newer things that need to germinate onto the heat mats. I think that's it. Oh, I know what I was going to mention. Well, I'm not going to show you the next tray, but I'm going to do that next tray of geraniums. But I wanted to mention that my son and my future daughter-in-law, they actually started their own seeds and brought them out to me. They don't have any grow lights or a stand, but they started onions and asparagus seeds, neither of which are things that I have ever grown before. So I'm kind of excited to see how this goes. I've seen other people do it, not asparagus seeds actually, but onion seeds. So they've got onions in here and asparagus, and I'm super excited. This will be a first time experience for me too. So they just started those today. These are going on the heat mat the same day as the geraniums are. So, all right. Well, I think that wraps it up for now. I will probably pop back in when I do petunias and the other things, but thanks for watching. We appreciate it, and have a great night. Bye.